There is strong support within Parliament, and the parliamentary group is such a big one.
Yes,
because
it
does
not surprise me because he's in Parliament with them and they will know him more and all that. So it's not surprise me that. But I even think he has support, quite some support outside the party as well. And so in the end, in doing this, the flag bearer together with the National Council, I'm sure will do a good job and deliver as the best running mate.
I see. Now, Doc, who is your best, bet for Nana Akufo-Addo? Is it Jaula, Derry, Haruna, Alhassan Haruna, or Dr. Bawumia?
Well, I don't really know if I have a best for any of these, among any of these individuals. At somebody who...
Doc, before you go, it's Professor Amia Kumfi's name here.
Professor Amia Kumfi.
Because
he was speculated once, but he's gone.
Come up many times as well.
Many times, not recently.
Oh yes, Doctor in party circles, and you also hear even Nana Gabi Nketia. His name has also come up a few times.
You want to throw in those names so that you cloud
so the people
the thing as
people don't feel it. We shouldn't exclude anybody. I mean,
very interesting. Now, Dr. Professor.
Yes, I mean, as somebody who basically cares about this nation and then the people in whose hands we trust power and the resources for this nation, I'm not too sure if any of these individuals, as far as I am concerned, and it doesn't mean that is the reflection of what Ghanaians think, really makes up what we should be looking out for teaming up with Nana Akufo-Addo. These people might be lawyers, they might be politicians, they might be technocrats, they might be economists, or whatever the case may be, but none of them had really so far demonstrated to us as Ghanaians in their individual capacities that they really have espoused any solutions to the problems that confront us on day-to-day basis, either in their personal discourse or in their writings or in their...
do that to earn the privilege of becoming a running mate.
Of course, they must do that. Why? Either because we need to be able to judge them on what they believe in, their capacity to understand the problems that confront us, what types of policy instruments, what type of policy goals, and what types of policy...
But more importantly, Doc, you've not heard about Jaula. You don't know what he has done.
Well, I know Jaula was in the Bank of Ghana, for instance.
Jaula was what do you call it, chief director at the Ministry of Health.
And look at our healthcare system. That's exactly the problem.
He also ran the Football Association.
That's exactly the problem. Look at our healthcare system and look at the man who calls himself the director of the place. I don't want to be personal, and I don't want to talk about anybody in personal capacity. But when somebody ran a particular institution or a particular statutory body, and that body is not delivering satisfactory services, and we want to choose him on the basis of the fact that that person had just headed that institution, is problematic. The point I'm making here cuts across all of them. The idea is that we need to be able to focus on people who can clearly explain to us going forward, how do we take the traffic off our roads? How do we deal with our healthcare system where people are dying on day-to-day basis? How do we deal with a school system that does not promise our children any future whatsoever? How do we deal with our social security and housing system? And these things, simple strategies, simple policy solutions that makes common sense, and how we can increase our revenue base to deal with the problems should be the kind of candidates who speak these things should be the kind of people we should be looking out.
Ambrose Derry has risen to be Deputy Minority Leader in Parliament.
Yes, he has risen to be the Deputy Minority Leader in Parliament. What is the output? What is the report out there to say that, well, under him, we have seen a tremendous amount of change that reflects on the generality of Ghanaians?
You may have heard him, very articulate, very intelligent, isn't he?
Well, I mean...
On the vetting committee.
Speaking and vetting people and everything is great, but at the end of the day, he was once a minister, right? I mean, what was the results? I mean, the point is that look at our justice system. Was it not, what do you call it, deputy or an attorney general under the previous government?
Yes, that's what he was.
Yes, but look at our justice system. It's not just a matter of going to court and talking. It's also about putting the judicial structure in proper shape and decentralizing it in such a way that access to justice is quick and fast, rather than basically presiding over whatever you might have come to meet and then moving on and beginning to think that...
He would certainly want to associate himself with the transformation that occurred in the judicial system during the NPP administration when he was deputy.
And that is fair, but he still, as an individual, needs to prove that he really has the capacity to move beyond just the judiciary and move into other policy areas as well. Because a running mate or a vice presidential candidate is also a president in waiting should something happen to the president.
As an individual too, to remind you, he's proving to be a very good lawyer.
Well, and that's a plus to him, and I agree 100% that he's agreed to be. He's proven to be a very good lawyer. That's fine. But how much, for instance, how much knowledge does he have on, let's say, economic policy or social policy or on labor market issues and how to woo constituencies to his party or whatever the case may be? So. And I'm not raising these issues because I just want to be critical, but I think that we really need to be critical as far as the people we put forward.
Is it the case that you are not aware of the track record of these individuals?
I have not seen any publication
or you know, but you think that they have not done enough to deserve
it's both.
Running mates?
It's both. I am not aware of some of them and their track records. Secondly, those who claim to have track records, I don't think those track records are good enough. And you know why? If their track records are good, our country will not be the way it is right now. Because, wait a minute, because they have served in several capacities in this country, and in those individual areas in which they have served, what have we seen in terms of all the policy areas I have mentioned so far? But if we move beyond the generality of all of them...
Can I ask you one question? We'll move away from NPP a bit and go to, say, Vice President John Mahama.
Yeah.
He's running with President Mills again.
Well, have they confirmed that?
He deserves it, doesn't he? Yes, they have confirmed it.
Well, to the extent that internally within their party, there is no wrangling against him and President Mills is comfortable, it does not necessarily mean that he completely understands the issues or he's solving the problems the way they should be solved or whatever the case may be. I don't see why.
Wrangling against these people
I don't see
NPP.
why he should not necessarily be maintained if they choose to do so. Now, the point I am making, which should not be misunderstood, is this: Nana can choose any of
before
these
the
people.
NDC won power, did you see John Mahama as qualified for the position of vice president?
I wasn't here then. I had followed John Mahama quite closely. I might tell you, he is a very admirable character in terms of the fact that the way he speaks and the way he articulates his views clearly shows that he has a good sense of understanding of many of the challenges that confront us as a nation. And I think that this view is actually very permeates the larger society as well, that to the extent that he endeared himself to people who do not necessarily belong to his party. And I have heard him speak on a number of issues. I have attended a few events where he showed up. You can see when he speaks, even without looking on any paper, that he clearly has a sense of whatever he's addressing, he has a sense and a knowledge of the issue. So to that extent, you can grant him. What I am saying is simply, because he's in the limelight right now.
Token, I want to be sure.
Yeah.
Have you watched, heard, or seen somebody like Ambrose Derry speak?
I saw Ambrose Derry speak in Parliament. I have watched him in Parliament. He's a deputy. I mean, I have watched him since he was a PNC man. So I know.
And it may not be too good a thing to do, but he's not comparable to John Mahama.
Well, in my view, I don't think so. The reason I say so is simply because I have not heard him really spoke on any substantive, what I call substantive issues in this country, on education, because the heartbeat of this country's future is in education. I have not heard him on healthcare. I have not heard him on housing. I have not heard him on social security. I have not heard him on transportation. Okay. So on the basis of these things, I have a little bit of a problem, basically saying, well, I think Ambrose Derry is great and go for it. Maybe they might want to make some of these things that he might have done more public so that those of us who are looking from afar can have access to it and make our assessments on the basis of that. But let's keep in mind that should the NPP decide that they are changing Alhaji Bawumia, they are indirectly also saying that they lost the election because of Bawumia. I mean, that's what the implication is. I think this question about ethnicity, religion, and everything, sometimes people don't really pause to think about it carefully. The NDC under Rawlings and under Mills had always fielded Christians, yet they won heavily in Muslim areas. So where are we going with this religion and ethnicity? I think we should be looking out for candidates who really who are national conscious, who have national consciousness, and are willing to build this nation by pulling everybody together. It is good and fine.
Apart from fielding Christians and getting the numbers, the argument that some also make is the need for a balance.
I was going to come to that in a democracy, it is good and great to think of representativeness. And as a matter of fact, in our case, as a highly divided society based on ethnicity, we should really take the question of representation and balance very, very carefully. But it should be subordinated. It should be subordinated to, what do you call it? To competence. And so when these issues rather come to the forefront, and we are not talking more about competence first before these particular elements, then it becomes a lot more problematic.
So someone like you would be comfortable if the NPP chose Alan Tremantin, unlike we have heard elsewhere. People are saying this will not be good.
Why did you ask that question? Is it because you are thinking Alan Chamante is an Akan and then Nana Akufo-Addo is an Akan?
And they are all Christians.
And they are all Christians. If he is competent and he's chosen on the basis of competence, I don't think Ghanaians will have any problem.
Thank you very much. Your news file on Joy 99.7 FM. You're also watching us on Multi TV. This is your Joy News channel. I'll go straight to Abdul Malik Kweku Baako Jr. Do you feel Nana is being ambushed?
Oh, not really. But there was one quick point before. The Rawlings-Aka pairing, yes, was South-South, both Christian, but beneath it was also the PNDC's agenda to ensure they could take the Nkrumah's constituency. Aka represented the National Convention Party, which was part of the CPP thing. So that's what it accounted for that strategy at that time. But I'm not sure that Addo is being ambushed. But of course, those of us who have our ears wide open are aware that the lobbying is underway. I would plead that it should be done in a very disciplined manner and less overt than it is, because at the end of the day, it's not an election. It is more or less a selection. And the flag bearer holds the key. Of course, it's a collective decision making at the end of the day, because I'm told it's in consultation with the National Executive Committee? National Council. So, yes, the flag bearer chooses and brings it on board. From all I know or have heard from very reliable sources, as we speak, the flag bearer is more inclined to retaining the 2008 ticket, seeking consistency